recorded. 2 people are in the waiting room. Now Steve Hansen's in there. All right, small prayer. Small prayer. I'm recording.
So do
Here
you
I
want
am.
everyone that
Hey.
wants to join?
Let me, I guess, I don't know. I
Can
know.
you see me?
Not yet. Hold on.
You can hear me though.
I can hear you loud and clear. Ask to start video. Should I hit that?
So you want him on video again?
Yeah. Okay. So I sent you, John, I sent you a request to start your video.
Okay, it says start my video. Yes, I just got it. Okay. There. Here I am. You see me?
On 2, right?
When it starts, we're gonna have the machine off.
Doesn't, where's the option?
Try to go
But,
back.
so we'll get this thing.
Okay, not that. So close
You
this.
got 10 minutes.
Hey, John. I
Yeah.
gotta see if I can get on there. Participant, start video. Okay, now I'm there. Can you see me?
I can see you fine. Yeah.
All right. Hey, your hair looks great, man. What are you talking about?
Vanish.
I might give you, if I saw you in the grocery store, I might give you a coupon.
Yeah, I know. It's
But
pretty.
no
pathetic.
cash, no cash money.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me see if I still have this thing.
Looks like he's got his camera sideways.
All right, well, let's try. Let's see what happens. Whoop. Oh, look at that. All right.
No, I had a dog license. I had left over from a dog that we had a long time ago that I was going to carry with me in case I got arrested for vagrancy.
Was it one of the little metal
Yeah.
dog tags?
Little bell-shaped thing.
I had a guy one time, there's a place here in Tucson where people are always asking for money. And here, hold on, I'm getting a message on Facebook. Let me see what this is. Are we recording, John's? Yes, we are.
Good.
Yes. Now, how do I hit send? Boom. I don't
I
know.
think, yes.
There we go. Boom. And boom. And how do I get back to Zoom now? There's, black screen of death. All right, we're back.
I can
All
see
right.
it.
All right. So now I thought I turned off notifications. And then notification came through. So technologically challenged as we are,
Yeah.
let me see. Participants. Invite. I don't want that. All right. Mute. Ask. Oh, nope, I don't want that. That's called mute all. Mute all current and new. Oh, God. Mute all. Admit Alex. So can you Google and see, is there a way to just let people in without having to admit them? I'm glad we started this early, John. Hold on. Let's see here. Stop video. Ask to unmute. Okay. So I just sent you a request to unmute, John, so that everybody else will be muted for the moment. And you are not yet unmuted. Ask to unmute.
Okay. I didn't know I was muted. How'd that happen?
Well, no, I went through and muted everybody.
Oh, I
so
see.
that-
Okay, I got you.
You know, so it'll just be you and me.
Okay.
Steve Hansen, where are you? There's Steve. All right. Alex, Anthony, Carl. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're just starting this early because we're technologically challenged.
Yeah,
And,
so am I. That's why I join early.
Yeah. We had hoped that, Facebook would have made this more easily accessible to people,
It's you.
but Facebook hasn't been running right for some time. I get runaway scrolling, all kinds of crazy stuff. They laid off 140,000 people. And so what that means is that
Wow.
the remaining smart people probably escaped.
Well, it's a bold new world, But I'm just asking my gal here that helps me with tech to figure out how to just admit people without me having to constantly, when somebody new logs on, admit them. So that's what we're working on right now at the moment.
Well, if they get obnoxious, you can mute them on a case-by-case basis.
No, not mute, admit.
Oh, admit. Oh, that's
Get
important.
them into the room. You know, there's all these settings. I am not a Facebook, I'm not a Zoom guru by any chance. And unfortunately, we're already recording all this BS. So anybody that watches this in the future, scroll forward. And of course, when you're on Zoom, you can't see the clock on your phone. So you don't even know what time it is. So what time is it?
10:54.
10:54. So if you're watching this on the recording, scroll forward like 10 minutes because we're just going to BS till 11 o'clock and see if we can caption whiteboard.
So yeah, there should be something under settings
Settings, okay.
and then meetings tab
Meetings settings, okay.
and then advanced.
Always show meeting controls. Touch up my appearance. What? Show name, show non-video, show stop incoming, show my. There's nothing that says let people in.
Auto answer group in chat toggle.
There's no such thing.
I don't know.
No such thing. Play, join, and leave sound. Always show meeting controls. Show name when participants join. There's nothing that says just let people in. So I might have to just let people in every so often. This is not my technology. If I was a technology guy, I would, be retired by now because I would have been in the game early enough. I'd be retired and I'd be sitting on a beach in Tahiti with two masseuses, each working on one side of my back as I sipped a rum drink. But nope, we're here working. And I'll just let people in as they join, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you have to have that be something that you set up when you're making a meeting.
Oh, great. All right. So I just got to click join every so often. So if you see my fingers coming up here, I'm not giving you the finger, John. All right.
We aren't in traffic.
Yeah, right. I had an experience many years ago in Los Angeles where I was at a traffic light leading to Kaiser Permanente off the freeway, which is a big hospital. And somebody behind me, it was a red light, and somebody behind me was honking her horn. And, we usually in our brain, get mad about that. But I looked in my rearview mirror and it was a lady trying to get to the hospital and she was screaming, my baby, my baby. And that has changed my attitude about honking horns and stuff in traffic. You never know what circumstance people are in.
Yeah, I know. It's because generally the people behind me that are honking, I was almost at work and it was on a cloverleaf and traffic was all backed up. This guy behind me was having a tantrum. And the car I was driving was an old POS Datsun. I just got out of the car and walked away. It's passive aggressive. That's it. Just went away for a while.
Right. So I'm hoping everybody logs on early because me having to punch the buttons to admit everybody is something I didn't anticipate. I should have just opened it up. The reason I left it on, this is the first time I've done a Zoom meeting other than the test, John, you and I did. And I've read that there's these troublemakers that are just random people that log on to public Zoom meetings and then say weird things or hold up weird signs or, expose themselves. So I didn't want any of that. Hey,
Yeah, never
I
mind.
think Jim Grace is here. He's a good guy. He's not going to cause trouble. I got you muted, Jim. So, all right, let me admit a couple more here. All right.
Alex, okay, Steve, the boss, Steve Hanson, Jim, SS.
What's our time?
Or 10:59.
10:59. All right. We got some people showing up now.
159.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Mhm.
There is an admit
I'm
all.
gonna
All
bring it
right.
tomorrow.
Well, I just found there is an admit all button when a bunch of people sign up. So I'm making progress. Thomas. All right. But where'd you go, bud? Did I let you in? Yeah. I tell you, I feel like a much older person than I am
Okay.
with
Well, I'll get it ready
technology.
as well.
Admit. Okay. SpaceX joined. I don't know who you are, SpaceX, but if Elon Musk is on this call, I'm not even sure what to say. And I thought I stopped notifications on my phone because they, you know how they drop down. I looked under notifications. They don't stop. My wife just left me a voicemail. Here I am. All right, so it's 11 o'clock. Let's just take another minute to let more. There's always late people. 11:02, 11:03. But we're getting ready to have a great talk with John Rolfe of Gearllose Lapidary. Now, why is he called Gearllose Lapidary? Don't answer, John. I'm going to just postulate. Because probably in his previous career, somebody said, you know, that guy's all right, but he's got a gear loose. Now, how close am
That's worse than that.
I?
I had my first successful invention when I was 14 years old. My grandfather was a mechanical engineer and a prolific inventor, but he hated electricity. He actually left Bell Labs because he didn't like electricity that much. He could do things with Geneva mechanisms, gears and cams and levers and so forth, and did make high-speed production machinery, design a lot of it. But anyway, what I did was I made a missing item detector for one of his machines, which was very simple to do with a photocell and a relay, blah, blah. But it worked and they incorporated it into the machine. I was about 14. And you know, I would invent little things. And my friends gave me the nickname Gearllose after Gyro Gearllose of the Disney comics.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what it's about.
so it started much earlier than I anticipated. So
Yeah,
how old were you?
I have things like this on my wall. Okay. That, you know, that's what it's about.
I love it.
So one of the last divisions that had me transferred to them said, we need a Gearllose here. You know, and that's basically what happened. And we had, I don't know, maybe 24 patents issued if you do a search. Yeah. Yeah, it's because of being an insomniac. It was not fair when we were asleep, Gearllose is thinking.
Yeah, that's a common theme. You know, there's a guy here in town, and I wish I knew his name because I bet you know him. He's the father of the big mirror lab at the U of A, and he created the honeycomb mold that would make the mirrors more lightweight, blah, blah, blah. And they say, yeah, he sleeps like 3 hours a night because, like, you know, he's just always thinking stuff up and inventing
Yeah,
stuff.
my sibs are like that too. My siblings, and it's not really a pleasant way to live.
I believe.
Well, it kind of makes you impatient and socially inept, which I've been all my life. So.
Well, I would have you to any party.
Well, I haven't been invited to parties in a long time. You know, especially the last 3 years. It's been
Yeah, it's a different world for sure, for sure. All right, so we're definitely getting some folks coming in now. You see my hand coming up here. I'm admitting people left and right because I didn't allow the public in. So first of all, welcome everybody. This is a presentation that is an extension, or it's a bonus. I'm calling it a bonus presentation from the United States Fasteners Guild Tucson Symposium 2023. We had John slated to do a presentation on polishing on the Saturday afternoon. His wife was very inconsiderate, and she scheduled a surgery. So we forgive her because we heard that she's doing much better now. We're all happy about that. And see, a lot of people are showing up late, all you slackers. So this is the extension of the Guild's symposium. And so just a reminder, I'm going to put a little plug in here. You know that the Franklin Symposium is going to be happening at the end of July. And we would just love for everybody to show up. If you are not a member of the Guild, don't be a slacker. Please sign up. It's like $50 for 5 years. The Guild needs the money so they can fix that old broken website. It really supports it. It's a great nonprofit that does a lot of work. Everything's volunteer. Everybody does a huge amount of work. So if you're watching this and you're not a member, please, when we finish, go ahead and watch. But when we finish, go sign up and sign up for the 5 years. Don't do the 1 year for 18. I'm getting a lot of Facebook notifications right now. Hopefully everybody was able to join from the Facebook link. It's all an experiment. So we have John Gearllose Rolfe. He owns Gearllose Lapidary. He's done a lot of stuff. He actually built the telescope here in Tucson at the observatory for the University of Arizona. So we're going to start out by welcoming John, and we all love his polishing products. But I wanted to start with a story that he told me the other day that I really enjoyed. And it was where he was a teenager in Maine, and he found a rock, I think it was a green beryl. And this is what started in polishing. So John, take it from there.
Sure. Am I on screen? Yeah,
You are. I can see you.
okay. Yeah, I became interested in rocks in the second grade. I had a school teacher who had a minor in geology, and she brought in her extensive rock collection and had it on the table. So thereafter, I always began to look at the ground when I walked. Not that where I live is a glacial dump. You could find anything here in tiny, insignificant, useless quantities. Gold, uranium, so forth and so on. But most of it's not worth bothering with, and it's not good for specimens. If you go further north into pegmatite country up around Maine, then you have Mount Mica, and that's really, So I was always interested anyway, and I, with a friend, we're in Maine at an abandoned mica mine, and I was going through all this broken up pegmatite, and I found a beryl crystal, and it was in pretty good condition. I was intrigued by the hexagonal shape of it. I chipped it out, took it home. I said, what am I going to do with this? And I had a hand crank grinder, and I began to play with it. And then I had a piece of sandpaper, and then I had a whetstone, and then I had Noxon metal polish. And over a long summer, I wound up with an approximate emerald cut, which wasn't very good. But sometime later, I had never seen a fastening machine. I saw pictures of them in a lapidary journal, but that's it. But I was at a Western Auto, and I saw this drill shaft that had a protractor on it. And from that, I built my first faceting machine. And then they began to go through an evolutionary process over the decades. And by the time I was grown up, I could have bought any machine I wanted, but by then I got used to my stuff, so I made the XS3. And that was a kind of a show-off thing for my personal use. Okay, I wanted a built-in goniometer. I wanted a resolution of 100th of a degree. And I wanted to make out of stainless steel because I was a masochist.
Agreed.
Yeah, right. Hand equipment, no CNC. And then what happened is somebody on the USFG list, it might have been the old Yahoo list, said, you wouldn't have a prototype of that with some extra holes and mistakes in it, would you? I said, yeah, I've got one. He said, I want to buy it. All right. And then he liked it a lot and told people about it and kind of got it out there. And somebody said, would you consider selling them? And like an idiot, I said, yes. because what happened is I wound up with 26 back orders almost instantly. Then I had to make them. And after, I don't know how many, 90 units or plus, that's doing it by hand, you know, on a little miller and a lathe. I said, I could, you know, I don't know why I'm suffering like this. I could make them out of aluminum. They'd be a lot easier to make. And, you know, I'll call it the XS4. Excuse me. And I'll run it on batteries so there's no line noise problem anymore. The numbers will be more stable. And in order to do that, I have to go from TTL logic to CMOS. It uses, you know, microamps rather than milliamps. I got this unit that was working, and then I got an email from Graves saying, you know, if you start making these, I'm going to be in real trouble, and I want to buy the rights to it. And, oh, okay. I mean, you know, it was, you know, interesting, you know, thing. I hadn't thought anybody would do such a thing. And I had misgivings about it, you know, never sold a product idea before. No, I had this cat, Molly, who hated everybody. She was a ghost cat. She hid when everybody came. Nobody ever saw her, right? Anyway, Peter Earl came up and he's sitting on the couch and I'm there agonizing about, can I trust this guy or what? You know, is this going to be a good deal? For some reason, Molly came out and sat in his lap. I'm going, well, all right, Molly. You know, animals have better instincts than humans. You know, we'll give it a go. So Molly decided, well, made the business decision, and it's worked out. And then, you know, Peter had some misfortune and things kind of collapsed. But I think that from the serial numbers, he had sold about 600 of those Mark V XLs. And I thought they were doing fairly well. You know, I mean, from what I heard from people, I fixed a few of Eagle. You know, but that seems to have fallen by the wayside along with the rest of the company. It's too bad.
It seems like one of your early machines is should be in the faceting museum, or maybe here in Tucson at the Mineral Museum. That's a good piece of history.
Which one?
Which one? Which machine or which museum?
The stainless one?
Yeah.
Really? Good.
Yeah.
Good, because most of them are still working that I know of. One of them was struck by lightning, and the other one went through a house fire.
So now you use interesting and intriguing names on your products. So the first one, the machine was the XS2.
Yeah. Well,
So
no,
was there
XS one? I know, revision G, revision H, and then I said no more. This one's going to be one for me. Okay. And it's going to be a personal gift to myself, and it's going to be the last machine I ever make. Okay. And it's going to be designed to excess.
Oh, okay. See, I had a feeling there was the
Yeah.
XS origin.
The first one's quill housing was made from titanium, 6-4 titanium.
Of course.
Huh?
Of course.
Why'd you do that? I said, well, I did that the same reason I cut kunzite, because the same reason that dogs lick themselves, because they can. But I never wanted to work with it again, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting that your first stone was on a hand crank machine, considering what you said about your granddad making so many inventions that were.
Well, I bet by hand crank. You mean the hand crank grinder for the barrel?
Yeah.
You know, that happened to be down cellar in the shop.
Yeah.
You know, because it was there.
Yeah.
Found out that it was possible to buy a green silicon carbide wheel.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, I think about that frequently, you know, with all the environmental stuff, you know, like people with their leaf blowers and all that. Like, why don't you just use a rake? You know, no gas, no fumes. But
you know, I don't know. I have a personal fetish. All of my equipment here: snowblower, rototiller, tractor, lawnmower, generator. Everything's converted to propane.
Yeah.
Everything. The reason
Yeah.
why is because when they started adulterating the gasoline with ethanol, if you shut an engine off and then came back 6 weeks later, it would never run again because it
That's
just-
right. Yeah.
So I said to hell
Yep.
with it.
Yep.
And propane doesn't have a road tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot, it doesn't smell as bad, all that.
No, it
stuff.
doesn't pollute. Its CO emissions are very, very low. Its CO2 emissions are lower, less carbon. It's got the engine oil lasts forever, and it always starts. You know, so yeah, what do you got?
All right,
You got
now
oxide.
I'm gonna start talking to you about, so many people use your products, and this is probably all available on your website, but nobody reads. So we want to hear it from you. I've got a stack of your laps here, and I'm gonna go through each lap, and I want to hear strengths, weaknesses, what stone do you cut, the whole 9 yards, and so we'll know. So let's start with the dark side. I love this thing.
The dark side's been out a very long time. It's a peculiar lap. It came out about the time that graphene was making a big splash in the news. It's graphene is a monoatomic lattice of carbon and graphite, which has a great deal of strength in the AB axis and none in the C axis. Anyway, I began thinking about it, and I used a couple of different types of carbon in this to make this composite, such that when the composite was in shear, an adhesive shear, you'd wind up making little tiny sheets of graphene. And that's what the real polishing process is in this. The coefficient of friction is remarkably low. It doesn't heat stones. And it's fairly easy to use when you get the technique. Now, one of the things it's been a problem with is the technique, because what usually happens is new cutters don't have any trouble with it. People that are AGT award winners throw their hands up in disgust at it. The better the cut, the faster you are, it seems the harder it is to learn how to use the dark side.
Oh.
But Tom Smith, the Adamus Instruments, Adamus Facet, the late Tom Smith, hated the thing. No, I mean, he was a very good gem cutter. He's a good colored stone gem cutter, and he's a trained diamond cutter. And so it's not a reflection on the user. Very often, Jerry Call used to use them in his courses, and all the new facetors would leave with one under their arm. I didn't have a particular amount of problem with it. One of the problems people have is using too much polishing media, especially oxides. They'll micro scratch. It'll force the stuff into forming agglomerates. But once you get it, like on polishing quartz with Syria, once you get it,
Yeah,
it's fast. And we had a guy, the gem doctor up in Canada, had gotten it and wound up cleaning up his whole backlog in an afternoon or a weekend. I no longer consider quartz to be challenging at all.
yeah. We were just yesterday. There's a faceting class going on here at Faceter's Paradise, and yesterday they were having some trouble with a different system. And I said, just get the dark side lap and put that thing on there, and let's get something done. Because that, and like we were talking about earlier, the where was I? Spraying the water, the misting of the water,
Right,
getting just the
exactly.
exact slight amount of moisture with the cerium oxide.
Right.
And you just, every time you pick up the stone, 3 or 4 sweeps, you pick up the stone and you can see the scratches just disappearing.
Yeah, that's the trick, is moisture control and pressure. Not a lot of pressure. I found on a lot of the polymeric laps that the general rule is fast and light. Not very much pressure. If you use a lot of pressure, you'll deform it and you'll wind up making the facets round.
So let me squeeze a question in here. I didn't know whether or not I should do this, but when I unpacked my first dark side, I used 2. I keep one dedicated for diamond and one dedicated for cerium oxide, because I was kind of doing an experiment. I didn't want one thing messing with my head. So when I opened up the lap, it looked kind of spattery. And so I took a large crystal, quartz crystal.
Yeah.
And I put a little bit of cerium, and then I just kind of pushed and ran it on the lap just to kind of flatten a little bit of that spatteriness out. Was that, should I have done that, or how do you break it?
It's not important. You don't have to prepare it. The spatteriness is because we have different particle sizes across 3 orders of magnitude. The particle sizes in the thing are different. It starts as 20 mesh and goes into microns.
Okay.
And that way, some of the larger pieces might generate more graphene. It was the thinking behind the lab is kind of convoluted, but they're working. We have thousands of them out there.
Oh yeah, no, it just made. Yeah, you know what's funny is I was on Facebook and I had broken up with cerium oxide. I had just had some trouble with other products, scratching and this and that. So I was like, to heck with cerium oxide. So my first dark side, I put 100,000 diamond and I polished quartz, no problem.
Really?
Like a dream. But then with a bunch of people, somebody else was having trouble with something online. And I saw all the comments, everybody, oh, cerium oxide. And I was like, okay, I'm going to let cerium oxide back in. And so that's when I went to my separate dark side lab, put cerium oxide. Really very happy with the results.
Was that 100,000 monocrystalline or polycrystalline?
PCD.
Okay, it has hydrogen in the lattice and it's more polar tolerant. The pandemonium sticks will work with water or oil.
Yeah, on the dark side, I only use water. Can you use oil on the dark side?
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay.
Sure. It started out intended to be used with, diamond and oil.
So can I use cerium oxide and oil?
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that might make, so then
Give
I
it a
don't,
good,
don't
just
have to
give it a
miss
good
it.
scrub. Just give it a good scrubbing and rinse it and dry it. And you could switch between oxide and water or oil and diamond back and forth as long as you stay in the polishing domain, less than a micron.
I'm asking, can I put cerium oxide with oil?
No, it doesn't do any good. It
Okay,
defeats the chemistry.
okay. That's what I was.
It's kind of an unnatural act.
It wouldn't be my first.
Oxide's like water, diamond like soil. Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that, but you never know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to this guy, Diamax. I'll pull it out so you can see it. Look at that thing. That's beautiful.
It's a pretty material. Yeah, it's a sweet material to work with. I love it. Yeah, smooth as silk, machines beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, that replaced the Diamatrix. The Diamatrix was a hardened version of the Matrix. Okay, the Matrix was a Tom Smith development that had extraordinarily high surface complexity. And there's a lot of really complicated things go on where the stone meets the lab and that fluid film, okay? And the Matrix had a fractal dimension of 1.9 something. It was almost 2 laps in one space. It's a very complex surface. So what happened though is that people were bearing down and rounding the facet edges because it's not a particularly stiff material. It's hard, but it's not stiff. And so Adamus made some suggestions and came up with a Diamatrix, which is a harder, tougher material, slightly less surface complexity. And it started off right out of the gate, successful. The first one sold with the 10-inch size for Yang robots for moissanite. And I had hopes that it would obsolete the BA5T, maybe it would get us away from the tin and silver prices. But nothing would obsolete the BA5T. So anyway, what's happening with it though is that people were making a living cutting a lot of stones on this stuff, polishing a lot of stones on the Diamatrix. But every once in a while, tiny, tiny cat hair scratches would show up. And there was something that was not apparent, didn't become apparent for a long time. What it was is that one of the materials that Adamus used was a very, very hard material, hard and dense material. And something with a really controlled particle size range was only made by one company in the world. And let's say that we had a 1 part per million particles greater than a micron, okay? And those are the ones that'll give you a 14K scratch. Well, that sounds pretty good, 1 part per million greater than a micron. It's not very good when you realize that you have trillions
Yeah,
of particles in the lab. And
Right.
that approaches statistical certainty that sooner or later, one of these is going to show up and bother somebody.
Yep.
So that coupled with the company that made this material told me I was ordering more material to make, you know, another big run of them. We can't supply that for 90 days. You know, we've got a supply chain problem. And I'm saying if I can't get the materials for 90 days, it means I'm not going to be able to supply these labs for 4 months.
right.
And so I said, well, I've got this other thing I was developing. I put it on the shelf last year. I took it down and got to work on it. It became the Diamax. And what the Diamax did is nothing in it's harder than Mo 5.
Okay.
It's not going to scratch, period, final, end. It's not going to scratch unless you're cutting apatite. So the Diamax came out. I sent samples out, freebies. I sent samples out to people because one of the things that I've always been terrified of is what I call a new inventor syndrome. And this is where you come up with an idea and you're all excited about it. You think it's great. And you think you've got an eagle for a product and it turns into a turkey because you didn't hit a bunch of unanticipated problems. So the best thing that I always did was take samples and send them to experienced cutters and award commercial cutters and people like that who have got thousands of stones. They know what they're doing. They know what it should do. They know what it should feel like. There's absolutely no question. You don't get inventor bias. You know, I used to lecture Tom about this. I've got a fabulous idea. It's not fabulous until somebody tells you it is.
Or until somebody buys it. Yeah.
Well, I don't care whether they buy it or not. I mean, a lot of people buy things that they wish they hadn't. I have a house full of them. Okay. But, you know, would want to say, you know, if I were going to buy an appliance or a car or something, I want to be able to go and ask my neighbor, you've got one of these, how do you like it? And he says, it sucks. And, you know, I want to kill myself for buying it. Okay, that's the information I need. Like the information I need from somebody is that this thing is awful. Okay, great. That's wonderful. I don't waste another minute on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Or
So
this thing, you know, heals lepers and cures the blind. Okay, then I'll go with it.
So what, give me the top 3 stones you'd recommend cutting on the Diamax.
Wow. People have cut the whole range. I know area cut moissanite, polished moissanite with it. Quite a few people have polished moissanite with it, but quite a few people have polished sphalerite, strontium titanate, got some blinding stones out of it. It's versatile.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna, it's tough enough for the hard stuff. I think frankly, if you've got moissanite or sapphire, you know, probably one of the 10 alloy laps charged with diamond is going to be better, I think. Or it'll probably flatter facet wise, because the temptation when the polishing process slows down, everybody has the temptation to put more pressure on. Okay.
Never, not
And
me.
the one customer service question that I dread hearing is when an email starts, my hand hurts from pressing down trying to get it to polish. Okay, we're dead. You know, you're going nowhere.
Yep.
You know, I mean, speed versus pressure.
Yeah.
Speed
Just like with
pressure.
any diamond tool, right? Is
Well,
let the tool.
It's for any tool. If you've got a handsaw, you let the tool do the work. You don't try to push it through the wood. It's, you know,
Right.
we know that when we're kids, right?
All right. So let's go to this guy, Creamway.
That's, yeah.
Let's
We
hear it.
made 2, actually 3 oxide labs. The last one was one that Adamus wanted to do. It was a particular type of alumina that hadn't been used in this field before. But that didn't go anywhere. And my biggest feeling about it was a so what product. Everybody and his brother makes aluminum oxide labs, you know. And so what? You know, so this is better than anything else. it's still so what? It's not news. But the cerium oxide, I mean the creamway and the greenway. One is a zirconium oxide, a special zirconium oxide, and then the other one is chromium oxide. The greenway lets you use chrome oxide without using chrome oxide because nobody wants to use it because nobody wants a green shop.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's a very, very versatile polish. It's used in Brazil a lot. If you visit a Brazil cutting factory, when you leave, you'll be green. Because they use it for agates, so that means quartzes, and that means the beryl family. It means tourmaline, quinzite. It's very good in quinzite. I know all of you will have to cut it, and garnets and tourmaline. It's a very, very versatile polish. You just can't get people to use it because it's so dirty and annoying.
Okay,
So
but this is with the zirconium oxide.
that's with the zirconium oxide, and it's exactly the same thing. Zirconia, like cerium, is an oxygen transfer catalyst, and it's very good for quartz. It's also good for quite a few other stones, the creamway is, because of the form that we use. And what those were is people personally asked me to make alumina laps in the past or cerium laps combinations for them, and I didn't, because we had people making the polygem laps that were answering the market. It'd be stupid to do a METO product. Why bother? The market is being satisfied by these other people. Besides, good for them. I want to do that. So people like the creamway. Well, the creamway, greenway, and the other laps sometimes develop a glaze on them. Oh yeah, the matrix does too. After time, the pressure and shear and everything causes the polymer to break down. It makes this varnish-like coating, and it slows the polish way, way down. And we had a thread on Facebook. It was Martin Prinsloo in London, whose favorite lap of the whole world, the matrix, right, became constipated and wouldn't polish anymore. And so we're telling him about acetone, and we got into a hilarious exchange about, I'd look at acetone license, please, because of health and safety. But he got his hands on some acetone, gave it a 20-second wipe. The thing is all brand new again. And this is true of any of those oxide resin laps. Is if they become glazed from long use and shiny and slippery and they don't polish well, then if you give them a wipe with acetone for about 20 seconds, you'll remove that glaze and the lap will be right back to factory new.
So like acetone on a paper towel?
Yep.
So make note, that was a really good piece of information, everybody. So you just mentioned the greenway.
Yep.
Was this the one that you told me the other day that there's like a cult?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Sunstone?
I don't know why. A lot of things will polish sunstone. So a lot of the sunstone cutters, there were clusters of them buying it. I don't know why. It's very, very good for the barrels, of course, but it's chrome oxide. It'll do what chrome oxide does, which is quite a bit for everything.
So there's chrome oxide in the polymer?
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. It's loaded.
And then let's say somebody was cutting sunstone, because a lot of people are cutting sunstone right now. What oxide would you recommend applying?
You don't need to use any.
No,
just water. The oxide is in the lab.
Just add water.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
I mean, that and the creamway, you could speed the polishing up by putting an oxide slurry on it if you want. And that'll scour the surface somewhat and prevent the glaze buildup. But generally, these laps are made to be used with nothing. And the reason why they're used with nothing is that to an emerald cutter, nothing is a hell of a lot better than oil. Because if you have an emerald with flaws in it and the lab picks up oil, you've just lost an awful lot of money.
Yep. So the creamway and the greenway can be used as is right out of the package.
That's right.
Or with the addition of oxides.
That's correct. Yes.
That's the only two laps that are like that you make, right?
Right now, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go. I'm kind of saving your tin for last. I don't know if you noticed.
Okay. All right.
So let's talk about this guy, the Matrix.
Yeah, that's the one I did describe that. I did describe that earlier. That's the one that glazed on that cutter in London. But Yeah, it's not as hard and stiff as the Diamatrix or the Diamax, but it's very, very friendly for oxides.
So give me the 3 top stones you would polish on a matrix.
Matrix, the whole family. It's been used
Nice.
for everything. Yeah, even moissanite. I don't recommend it for moissanite. Too heavy, too hot and heavy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but I know it'll do sapphire with alumina or sapphire with 100K PCT. It's versatile. It has just a second, I got interrupted here. Are we on?
Uh,
Who
I see
pushed
it.
something? Did somebody push something?
Nope, I see you.
Oh,
I
okay,
can hear
good,
you.
okay. Okay, anyway, I guess somebody turned on something somewhere. Okay, no, the matrix is very versatile. And I think that I made a 14-inch one for somebody for a rope. But this is the one that's sensitive to pressure, in that it has some elastic deformation. And so you don't want to be bearing down on it.
Log on to
And this is
Facebook.
one of the fast and light laps. In other words, high speed, 600 RPM. Okay, and keep the pressure light, so you'll get a good flat facet. But get heavy-handed or impatient and bear down on it, then you won't. Then the meat's
And that's kind of a big deal. Hold on, let me just see what Adam has to say here. So the main screen switches to whoever is speaking. It's best to mute microphones. Yeah, agree. All right, close that. All right. So yeah, anybody, if you're there, please, I just can't look at everybody. Please mute your own microphone. I thought I had that setting going. This is not my specialty. So back to that matrix and polishing in general. I remember at the symposium a year and a half ago, at the end of your talk, I said, all right, what's the big 3 ones? The big 3 important things. And you said, speed is not your friend. And I've certainly found that to be true. And that's one thing, on my Ultratech V5, I can crank that speed way down. And I've heard there's some machines that have like push button speed or digital controllers rather than analog.
Well, it's just that people get impatient. They want their aesthetic reward sooner. And that's the whole story between all my laps. I had a full-time career all my life and not that much time for gem cutting. And so a lot of these things I came up with for me, for my own shop, because I couldn't spend 12 hours to cut a stone. I didn't have the 12 hours. I barely had 12 minutes. So,
right.
That's what these are about. And the temptation, of course, will be for me to turn the machine up to horrible speeds. I mean, turbine speeds. And of course, then what would happen is I cut a peridot, the lab would go dry, and it would turn into a fried marble from the instant heat. Okay, and the other disasters that you can have. But speed isn't your friend, and neither is pressure. The machine is supposed to be doing the work. Now, if you are forever knocking stones off the top, and stuff like that, it's a clue. If you're melting the wax or making the adhesive fail.
Yeah, it's feedback.
Well, that's it. You use all your senses. You are when you're driving a car. It's just that you don't realize it because it's so automatic. But you can hear the lap. You can hear the machine load up. You could feel the drag increase. There's a lot going on that you are responsible for. No machine in the world is going to give you a prize-winning stone, and no machine in the world is going to make you a supreme exalted grandmaster cutter either. That's your job.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like you're saying with driving the car, it's in the back of your head. It's not necessarily.
That's exactly right. Yes.
It's that the feeling and that deeper sense of.
It's like riding a bicycle. Okay, it hurts at first, but though you never have trouble again.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be doing that with the sound the machine makes, the drag, how warm the stone gets. All these things are all valuable inputs for you. The stone is telling you how it feels.
So, you know, in flying airplanes, they call it flying by the seat of your pants, because
Exactly.
you really feel with your body. So, you know, we need to come up with a saying like that for polishing, you know, where you're using your whole body and all your senses and, you know, the whole 9 yards to get that stone polished.
Stolid spin.
So you're answering comments. Okay. So now we're going to move on. I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 metal laps in my chair next to me here. And you know, some of these I'm cheap. So like have not used your I've not used the matrix. I've not used the Greenway, the Creamway. So a lot of these questions I'm asking for myself. I only open a lap that I can take off the shelf and I know what I'm doing. So I your tin plus, your zinc plus, your dark side. I mean, I just love them. But so you know, this is a tin plus, and of course, tin is you know, been around for a long time, been used a lot. You know, people talk about pewter, people talk about type metal, all these different things. And to us mortals, like, hey, it's a metal lap. You know, what do we know? To you, you know, you understand the molecular structure and all this other stuff. So let's start with your tin plus. And of course, is this diamond and oxide or mainly or just diamond?
It's mostly diamond. Some people use oxides on tin. You know, indifferent. You know, I generally prefer diamond with tin because it gets into the tin. You can make a real legitimate charge. Yeah, the tin plus is halfway in Bernal hardness between pure tin and bat. So it's about halfway, okay? It's a custom alloy, which I have rolled. And partly as an answer, it's a lower priced alternative to bat. It's not as hot as bat. It doesn't suck up diamond like bat does because bat has an open structure. This has a closed structure. This stuff has a higher density. But on the other hand, it takes a charge very readily. And it's friendly to use. It's easy and friendly to use.
I use it at 8,000, which I think you recommend in your kit. You know, and I love your kit. You know, I mean, this is just a commercial for Gearllose. Your big kit is such a good deal, and it has everything you need. That when people are starting out, and oh, what do I need? This, all this stuff in the world. Like, just buy that kit, and that'll get you going. And then from there, you can branch off into something else. But man, that step between 3,000 and then hitting it with the 8K on the 10 plus, and then going to the dark side, it just made life so much easier.
Yeah, 8K on the 10 plus is what I call it eBay polish.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty shiny.
But
you see,
on your
you've
way
done
to
the work. You've done all the work.
right.
And gotten the damage out and gotten the scratches out. So when you do go onto the polishing lap, you're seconds away from being finished.
Right. And that's what I love is doing the 2-3 sweeps and then looking. And I remember Jim Grace, you know, I'd talk to him. I love talking to these cutters. I'd say, how long do you spend on a facet? Because I'm over here spending, I don't even want to look at my watch, you know, because it's so depressing. He goes, oh, a few seconds. And then when somebody says that to you, you know that it's okay, it's within the realm of possibility. And then when I switched to Gearllose, and I would just sweep it, you know, 3-4 times and pick it up and look at it. And I'm like, hey, those scratches are significantly less. And then again and again, and I'm done. So I applaud you. You're saving us all a lot of time.
Only because I was lazy to begin with.
Well, lazy helps.
Laziness is a virtue. Contrary to what New Englanders are told, because it lets you avoid work, and sometimes by avoiding work, you can find ways around it and find faster ways of doing it. In other words, you don't have to work harder; you can work smarter.
Yeah, that's an admirable trait in my book. All right, let's, so to recap on that one, so 10 plus, use diamond, softer than the bat. Now let's look at the zinc plus.
Yeah. People have been flirting with zinc laps for a long time. The ones you can normally buy that are made in China are castings, and we made cast zincs for a while. What happened is we had a worker rebellion. The foundry workers hated working with it. It was about 700 degrees F, and it was summertime. And they found out that if they made terrible castings, we wouldn't buy them anymore. So anyway, I went to this rolled zinc alloy. And they've never been commercially successful because they are rather harsh for polishing. But for pre-polishing, the zinc 8K combination kicks ass. I think most people would agree with that. And they were just marketed for the wrong product, the wrong workpiece. You know, if they had been marketed as a pre-polishing lap in the first place, then the zinc lap would have been on everybody's shop. But you know, zinc is it's water intolerant for one thing. It corrodes readily. That's why zinc is used as anodes, you know, on ships to protect against rusting because it's a sacrificial element. We found out about sacrificial elements because somebody had left the zinc plus in an envelope on a porch, and it rained. It rained for a long time, and water was in the envelope. When the person opened it up, you know, the zinc had reacted with the sulfite in the paper and all kinds of it. It looked like garbage, and it was garbage, you know. So zinc demands oil. Okay, you shouldn't use any zinc lap with water.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nasty stuff for the foundry to work with also. But you can get something called zinc fume fever. Is the inhalation of zinc oxide fume, and it causes nervous system damage and terrible things, convulsions. A blacksmith online, a well-liked name was Pappy, died because he took a bunch of galvanized stuff and put it in his forge to burn the zinc off of it. And, you know, he died of a respiratory failure. So the workers didn't like working with it. And I frankly didn't think much of the material anyway, but it was, you know, somebody wanted it and blah, blah, blah.
And here we are.
Yeah, and the zinc, you know, it crystallized non-uniformly, and the laps are poorly balanced, and they had an open grain structure. And they just weren't very good metals. So when we went to the zinc plus, you know, it was successful from the start because we knew that other than using 100K on it and polishing sapphire, only that in that case, it's a good polishing lap. But for anything else, you know, it's really a pre-polisher. 3K on zinc plus is a stump grinder. It'll move a lot of material very fast, too fast. Because when the zinc plus first came out, people were putting 3K on it, and then they're going right by their meats. Yeah.
So Doug Augsburger, who is running the Guild's symposium in Franklin in July, just put a question here on Zoom. He says, what about the zinc plus on 14K? Because you said 8K, it was pretty much the primo combination. How is this on 14 or 13?
I don't know. I haven't had a lot of feedback about those grits on it.
Okay.
It's skating the edge of being a polish. You know, it's down to a micron.
Right.
And zinc can be nasty and grabby. It's a hydrophile, and it's kind of a rough material, but you know, when you use 8K on it or 3K, you've tamed it, and it becomes a good pre-polisher where you can cut the star facets.
Yeah, which is handy at 8K to pop in those little facets.
Yep.
And we got a bunch of people joining us right now, all you late people.
Yeah, they're just a time zone different, right?
Yeah, they must be in the Midwest or something and got confused. All right.
11:48.
All right, great. All right, let's go to the BATT, the bat lap, which I believe
needs no introduction.
Very,
That's what started it all.
wow. So this is a very popular lamp. And what did you say the other day? Like 8,000 of these are floating around?
16.
16,000?
Yeah, I know. We didn't believe it either, but I talked to my refiner. Said, how much tin have I bought since day one? And I don't know if I want to open another window on this machine,
You
but it's
don't.
a mind-numbing number. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's one of those things like, if you put a penny in a jar every day, blah, blah, blah. All right. Well, it's one of those things where we have been, especially the last 3 years, we've been working like mules in a mine. Okay. And wearing blinders and, filling orders and trying to meet deliveries and stuff like this. And we haven't been counting. And I'd call the refiner, I'd order, more tin and more master batch. And it would come, they deliver it and we melt it and cast it, and it'd come and deliver it, and we melt it and cast it and machine it, and okay. And it's been like this, hitched to a cart dragging ore. And then you look at the spreadsheet at the end of the year, you're looking at the number of these that have been sold and the number of pigs of tin. We have to buy 10 and 50-pound pigs. And you just shake your head. You just can't believe it. I think you do that since 1997. That's something when we started at the very first Bat Labs, when tin was dirt cheap and being practically given away. It just showed up. It's like, I don't know, it makes me tired just to think of it.
I'm kind of hearing maybe you single-handedly drove the price of tin up.
I'm sorry?
I said maybe you single-handedly drove the price of tin up.
No, I've seen it, but no, my refiner says to me, like when I buy like 400 pounds of it or something, he'll say, oh yeah, we're going into the industrial park, we'll bring a couple of tons up there, we'll drop you off. I don't have to pay shipping. But no, it makes me, I just when I start to strut and swagger, I find out, how much this refiner was sent. It's selling real companies, like I'm not going to hit them up for bulk discount. It's not going to go anywhere. Just laugh at me.
Well,
they're very friendly, but
yeah, there's an old rule that I've discovered in business: the smaller customer is the one that is the bigger pain to deal with generally.
I'm not sure anymore.
All right, now I've got one more lap here, but before that, I want you to tell us a story. I want to hear about you building and working on telescopes, and specifically building the telescope in Tucson, because hey, that's where I live.
Oh, have you been to the Glacier Planetarium?
I have.
You see the blue Cassegrain telescope, the 16-inch?
I do.
Yeah, I built it.
Yeah. So tell us about that. Like when,
Oh,
where,
it was an R&D drought up here, way back. I think it was related to Massachusetts was the only state who voted for McGovern, and as a consequence, all of our R&D contracts, military contracts, seemed to wither and die. And so, there was a recession in my industry, and so I thought, well, here's a place that's looking for somebody to build telescopes, And well, I've built telescopes. I've got a 10-inch f5 Newtonian that I built. It's a pretty 20th wave mirror. So I went and met him and talked to him. They hired me, and we built a bunch of them. Penn State 24-inch Cassegrain. That one. There's one in Little Rock, Arkansas. There's one in Athens. There's one in Wellington, New Zealand. There's one in Brazil, a great big laser ranger in Brazil. The Mideast Technical University in Turkey has one of our tractors.
nice.
Yeah, and it was an interesting field to work in. And I met some peculiar people. Opticians are peculiar people because they have this big piece of glass that's rotating in front of them, and this little pitch lap with cerium oxide on it, or bonsite, and they're polishing this lap, trying to make it a perfect parabola. And the thing goes around and around, and they sit there and their thoughts go around and around, and they begin to get a little weird. So we had one optician came from California working on these. There's a great big huge hairy village blacksmith guy, we called him Bluto as a nickname. And I went by and he had this, one day he had this little manicure set out. He's doing his fingernails. And I said, well, aren't we pretty today? And he blew up and gave me a lesson that's always helped me in faceting. If I'd have to clean the language up a lot, but basically it was, this morning I was working with cast iron laps in the generating area, he said, and I may have had 60 grit carbide under my fingernails, you idiot. Okay, and now I'm polishing this 24-inch piece of glass that has to be, so many waves. And you're asking me why I'm cleaning your fingernails. You see?
Yep.
So everybody has something to teach you.
Yep. And that's, it's funny. I remember there was an online conversation that you had a great solution for. And it was somebody that had contamination issues.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They changed everything. They finally figured out it was the Sharpie pen they were using on the stone. And you said, use a different color Sharpie pen for every grit. Genius, genius.
The one that I'm most proud of solving was we could not find out where scratches were coming from with this guy. It turns out that he was doing the rough shaping, grinding, and cleaning up after himself on the stone, right? Well, I don't know if you noticed it, if the light is right, you can see it, that there's a mist that comes off the spinning lap and it goes up in the air. What was happening is that stone dust from the preforming and rough cutting was in the mist. It was drying on the light bulb up on top of the lap, right? And he managed to get everything except that. And so what was happening is the machine would vibrate and the light bulb would sprinkle stone dust down on the lap. And no matter how much he cleaned it, cleaned the splash pan, cleaned the lap, cleaned everything, it was the light bulb.
That's amazing.
Yeah, take a look at your light bulb sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, with the LED lights, they're not run as hot and they don't evaporate things as much, but I'll bet you'll be surprised.
Yeah, you never know. It's definitely the goblin of polishing is contamination. Yeah. All right. Now, the BA5T, the crown princess here. Let's now what's the 5 for, first of all?
5 components.
See, there's always a reason.
Yeah.
Always a reason. All right.
I
So
never
BA5T,
remember the names if they were.
right. Now, and then I'll back up because I didn't say something on the bat lap. I have some folks here in Tucson that are just, this is all they do is cut stones, and they love the bat lap. I mean, they use it like crazy. So I can see why there's 16,000 laps out there. So I just forgot to say that during the bat time. So let's go BA5T. Let's hear it. What's the deal?
It has less surface complexity than the bat. It isn't as porous as bat. It doesn't take up as much diamond as deeply as bat, but its surface charges more heavily with diamond, and there's more diamond per square millimeter. So it's faster, but it's also harder than bat a little bit and bring out hardness, and it's slipperier. Coefficient of friction is less.
So for sapphire, good choice.
Yeah, it is. But I tell people, I want to buy a BA5T and be a pro. Its performance is better than the bat, but it's subtle. It's not game changing. In other words, you don't have to spend the money on one. For most people, most of the time, there's no reason to buy it. Do you believe I'm saying this?
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you care about us. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. I think you value the human element as more important than anything else, and you go down from there. So
Well, I care how somebody feels after they buy something, because remember, I've been a consumer. I've been a consumer for 70 plus years, not a manufacturer. Okay, and I know how it feels to leave that car dealership that reset the oil change thing and sent me a car home with the oil like India ink with a viscosity of kerosene.
yep.
We all have stories like that probably every single week. And I don't want to be one of those stories.
Well, and you don't get to be big and well known and so popular if you're not taking care of people. And then I think that's the big element, is that you take care of people like we're just all humans. We all share the same hatred of scratching and the love of fast polishing. So we are kindred spirits.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And the thing that is amazing to me, always been amazing to me, is that when you're among fasteners, you have no idea who you're talking to. I mean, you could be talking to a neurosurgeon, you could be talking to the person who pumps septic tanks, you could be talking to a carpenter, all kinds of people doing this, and they all want the same things. They want to take something out of the ground and make it beautiful. And sometimes they get paid for it.
Yeah, and our arch enemies are mineral specimen collectors, that they don't want you to cut their stones.
Well, yeah, but I mean, can you imagine like me going into the Agassiz Museum with a bag, and going rough shopping, I mean, you've got to respect, that too. Our job is to reveal the hidden beauty of minerals and rocks, not to take them all and cut them up. I mean, even though we want to.
There's an aquamarine. We have the Alfie Norville Mineral Museum here in Tucson, which has just been moved and is upgraded and Smithsonian quality. There's an aqua crystal in there that's about that tall and that big around and as clear as a window. I mean, every time I look at that thing, I just slobber on it. It's a beautiful specimen, but I still want to cut it, John.
Well, have you seen Jay Connor's efforts cutting?
I haven't.
And basically, he starts with a bowling ball, a bull end the size of a bowling ball. No, if you cut that specimen, nobody would believe it was real anyway.
Right.
At that size, they'd say what somebody said the other day on Facebook to an aquamarine, a perfect aquamarine, is how many years was that an insulator on a telephone pole?
I just cut a piece of insulator that's probably 120 years old from here in Tucson, and it does look like a beautiful piece of aquamarine.
Really good aquamarine, yeah, the aquamarine that we can't get anymore.
Yeah. So what do you think? What has your personal greatest challenge been in faceting, other than finding
ceramic lap?
Ah, interesting answer.
Yeah, we use a ceramic lap at work for preparing samples for photomicroscopy, metallurgy, and so forth. And I used it every day, and I'd come home and try to get one to work in my shop. And some days it would produce the most beautiful, flattest, shiniest facet you ever saw. And some days, if the moon was in Taurus, it wouldn't work at all. And it drove me out of my mind. And I think it was one of the things that motivated me to make the bet is I've got to make something, better than currently exists, and it's not going to be ceramic, because this piece of ceramic has a date about 2 miles from my house with Mr. Kalashnikov, and it did. 7.62 by 39, steel cord, no wrinkle. And it was the most satisfying use I ever got out of that thing.
That'd be a good video.
I know. I should have my wife video it.
like
No, I've had people video me at the range and having fun, but I did not for that one. That was a long time ago. But I just gave up on the thing, and I didn't even want to inflict it on anybody by selling it on eBay. I just hated it.
Yeah,
Except for the times it worked.
Right.
All right, and I'm supposed to be good at this, and I couldn't make it work. I took that personally. It was an
Well,
insult.
that's I've heard that from a few folks, that ceramic it's hard to figure out. But some people love it, for sapphire, mainly sapphire, is what I'm hearing.
I know they do. They love it. They get beautiful facets, the sharpest meats possible, and they're dead flat. I mean, there's a million good things about it. I just never want to see one again as long as I live.
So, I went to a business presentation in a stadium one time, the big stuff, right? And they always start, and any show is like this, they start with the little guys. And the keynote speaker was the dad, President Bush. They save him for the very end. So just like that, I have saved the big question for the end. So people, listen up. Here it is, the big question. Now, just a little while back, John announced that he was retiring, and there was everybody freaked out. There was a feeding frenzy. The sharks were circling the boat. It was terrible. So I've saved the big question for last. So, John, are you really retiring? What's happening? Give us the straight, skinny, right from your mouth.
I am in the sense that when I retired from my career, Gearllose was a retirement business. It was nice. There was a lot of good things about it. And it gave me a purpose. It got me up at the same time that I always did. It gave my life a meaning. I think Gibran says, when you work, you stay in touch with the seasons. It kept me from falling into the trap of other retirees. Because every single peer of mine, everyone that retired and then got every sports channel and then stopped at the package store, dead. Okay. I mean, in the ground, dead. And when you lose your focus and you lose your discipline and your purpose, then it's very hard to stay healthy. So I needed the business needed me. And I stepped right out of my career into this business. But it was good. For 10 or 15 years, we were going along happily, those and the other people who work here, and filling orders and smiling and being happy because people liked our stuff. When COVID happened, sales exploded because everybody got locked up at home. But then worse than that happened. There was some kind of a critical mass that went on with the dealers. And we can only work so fast in the space we have with the people we have and the equipment we have. And what would happen is I might have, say, 24 bats on the shelf. On a Friday night, I'd get an email, had an order for 20 bats and 10 dark sides and XXX. Okay, I can fill that. But then the next morning on the weekend, I'd get another order from another dealer. They wanted 10 bats and this. Now I can't fill the order. And not only can I not fill the order, I can't fill any future orders for a week or two. And I can't sell any private products for a week or two because we can't possibly make them any faster than that. Then it escalated until a couple of months ago. I had to default on dealer orders because there's no possible way of making them, no possible way of digging ourselves out of it, and no possible, just not possible to make it. It was like if you went into your local 7-Eleven and ordered 1 million pounds of bananas. They might welcome the order, but they had no way of filling it.
Right.
We fell further and further behind, and we were already working 7 days a week. So this meant working nights. Then we began to have the human impact, other than the health emergency we had in the house for the first quarter of this year with me at Mass General every day. We had this going on, and the impossible, preposterous orders for the dealers. And it wasn't a dealer conspiracy or anything. These dealers didn't know what each other were ordering. They had no idea. If anything, they were competitors and they were in many different countries. But we had this hopeless backlog now of no way of digging our way out. no possible way out. And I didn't see any alternative. Well, we began to get personnel issues where my shop manager texted me asking for a Sunday off. This is preposterous.
Crazy.
Okay? You can't do this to people. You can't keep doing this to people and pushing them like this for 3 years. And he likes to fish and hunt and canoe and work in his garden and ride his Harley. Okay. And he never got to do any of those.
Right.
All right. In other words, we can't live like this anymore. Period. Final end. You know, and just a few weeks ago, I said, if I didn't own this business, I would walk. Okay. We got to that point
Yeah.
where I didn't want to see orders come in. So what I did was courteously told my dealers more than a week in advance, you know, I sent them the memo about winding the business down. We want to return the business to a retirement business like it was for its first 10 years. It was a pleasant thing to do. This is not about money anymore. It is about quality of life. Okay.
Yep.
If I'm going to be 80, what kind of life do I have left? What do you want? A 10-year plan? It was like the people that sold me and put a new roof on my house and said I had a 40-year warranty. I burst out laughing right in his face. Yeah, sure. Yeah, get the Ouija board. I'll give you a call, let you know. You know, we have to be realistic. You know, I've been blessed with good health. I don't know why. I don't deserve it. You know, looking back on the 60s, but you know, I won the DNA lottery. But we are living in a world where 20-year-old athletes are dropping dead. So come on, let's get real here.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I try to be lighthearted about it. I try to joke about it. One of the things I said was that, you know, what are you planning to do when you die? You know, all this other stuff. I said, well, I want to come back as a ghost so that I can watch the fireworks when everybody finds out that I left everything to the cat shelter.
Well, and it's kind of
So we got to be. Huh?
It's a funny joke because of cat hair scratches. See?
Well, I like cats. I got the door closed today because you know, I might kick him off the desk.
I know that.
People have met him anyway. But you know, I want to return to a retirement business, and this means maybe no more Amazon shopping. You know, everybody's been spoiled by this, and I generally ship like the next business morning after I get an order, and I'm not going to guarantee I can do this anymore. You know, you might have to wait a week, but we've got the machine manufacturers having people wait 6 months, so I'm not going to have guilt about it. In other words, I'll do my best to fill the orders as fast as I can, but I'm not going to work like this anymore.
So the online shop, is it back open right now?
Oh God, listen to this. I released that memo, I think on 4/17, on the 17th, right?
Right.
On the 17th. The shit hit the fan and I had to shut the store off the next morning. 24 hours. Where's my note? From 4/17 until we finally caught up. Oh no, we just caught up. It took us almost a month.
Yeah.
From 4/17 to 4/24, we sold and shipped 602 items in 24 hours. 602 items. You think I'm going to do that again? No. Today is May 12th. We just caught up with that backlog from one day.
So basically what I'm hearing is we were loving you to death.
Well, there's a difference between date and rape, okay? And, you know, this is because we were just recovering from a terrible backlog, some of these horrible dealer orders that were piled up, and I mean tens of thousands of dollars that we couldn't ship. It just barely recovered for that and getting things organized to try and deal with it and deal with the dealers and everything.
Yeah.
And then to get hit with a 24-hour blitzkrieg like that, it's just, you know, you just can't do that.
So the message to everybody is order the laps that you need.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't do the toilet paper thing.
oh my God, I had people calling dealers trying to buy their entire Gearllose inventory. I had people calling dealers attempting to place 50 lap orders.
Yep.
All right, now listen. There are people with garages full of toilet paper from COVID. Remember that?
Yep.
All right. I don't want to see that stuff. It's the ugly side of human nature.
I know a guy that's still eating beans from Y2K.
Really? They're probably good. Yeah. But you see what I mean, though, is, I mean, he's going to croak, hurry up. Well, look, I don't have any immediate plans to do so. And if I do, at least I told you in advance now.
Right.
I mean, I've got to be realistic. I don't know how long it's going to go on. How long can my good luck hold out? Right?
You never know. You
Huh?
never know. You never know. I mean, there's
Yeah,
people that are 20, like you said, 20, 25
I mean,
years
I
old.
should have thought of this 20 years ago. Like if this were 30 years ago, I would have bought an industrial building in the industrial park, and I would have filled it with people, and I would have grown this business to be huge. And I could have. I didn't realize it then. I was too stupid. I was still working for Fortune 500 in harness. But, I didn't realize that the potential was there for something like this.
Yep. So let's take some questions from the audience. You game?
Oh, sure.
All right. We've had a couple, pop up, like Doug asking about the 14K polish. So you guys, there's some way to type in a question. So if you could do it that way, that'll help me rather than people unmuting their microphone. So if you have a question, here's your moment. You can talk to the king of polish. There you go, one right here. Let's hear it.
Can you mix oxides in the same lap, like chromium and cerium?
So on the same lap, John, can you mix oxides at the same time? Like, Dave, are you asking at the same time?
Yeah.
Like, can you mix two
Yeah.
oxides together?
Yeah, you can. Cross-contamination between oxides isn't problematic. We have all kinds of people experimenting for years making up secret magic combinations of the two, deliberately blending them. I don't approve of that because you'll never really know for certain what it was that worked. I mean, there are people that polish quartz with chromium oxide, for example, or zirconium oxide or cerium oxide. But it's better off to remember what was on the lap. The one that you can't forget will be chrome oxide. If you use chrome oxide on a lap, it'll always be green for the rest of its life, but it's not going to do any harm.
Skyway lap. I got a question now. I've never heard of it. He says, can you talk about the Skyway lap?
That was an Adamus product.
No.
And it was a special exotic form of zirconium oxide that was made for advanced composites. It was very, very expensive. It cost more than silver. And it was a good lap and people liked it. It was versatile. But the way that we were able to change the creamway made the Skyway obsolete. The current modern creamway is just about as good as the Skyway. Now, the Skyway cost a lot of money. There was just no way to make it cheap. And one thing is, we don't hesitate if something becomes obsolete. We don't hesitate to get rid of that product. There's no point. There's no point in bothering people with it.
Yep.
It was a good lap. It had a good following. It probably still does. There's no reason why it won't last 20 years. Just remember the trick, the acetone trick. If it ever gets glazed, just give it a wipe with acetone. It'll be brand new. Yeah, they were blue.
Now, we just had David Montana asking about speeds for the different laps. And, we know that in general, that slow is the way to polish. But as you've said, in your wonderful Texas accent, that if you put 600 on like a zinc, it'll be a stump grinder. And I quote you often in that same.
It's not a Texas accent. No, because they offered me a relocation, a couple of relocations. One to Texas, and one was to San Diego. And I felt that culturally I didn't belong in San Diego because I found out that let's do lunch means get the hell out of my sight. The conversation's over. Whereas in Texas, I'm more likely to hear, well, I think you're an asshole. But the point is that you know exactly where you stand. Okay, and I respect that. But anyway, this is a down east accent. There's nothing I can do to get rid of it.
So let's say you put 600, 3,000 on one of the tinner zinc. Talk to us about the speed.
600. Yeah, we go from 600 to 3,000.
No. Speed of how fast you should run the lap.
I don't know. In my shop, it's 200 to 600 RPM.
Okay.
Okay, but people say I'm an animal.
So let's say at 3,000. Sometimes I run a sintered lap, but at 3,000, sometimes I'll speed it up, to get things moving a little bit faster. If I had 3,000 on, say, a zinc plus, can I speed it up? Is that all right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a point where you don't gain much more on speed. For instance, if you're using a lot of water in your hydroplane, then you have to use more pressure. And you can't put enough pressure on to break that. So there are reasonable limits. But my rule of thumb is 200 to 600. If I'm roughing something out and preforming it, then 1,000. Even though I have a lawyer statement on the lap saying don't exceed 1,000 RPM or 900 RPM.
So another question came up. Are you going to make the dual zone laps anymore?
Maybe I'll have a chance to now. I had to abandon them because when we got backlogged, we were suffocating under the regular products. And to be quite honest with you, they're labor intensive. They have to be machined 3 times. And so they're labor intensive and they're not particularly profitable. I mean, it's a good way of getting 2 different products out there. They're very, very good for one particular reason, and that is that pre-polishing and polishing are done on the same plane. And that is, if you have an old one machine that's a little sloppy, you don't have to touch the heat cheater. You don't have to do anything. You can, do that tier, wipe it clean, and jump to the inside without touching anything on the machine and get a 5-second polish on every one because they're in perfect register. Usually when you go from pre-polish to polish on most machines, you'll notice that you have contact at the heel or the toe or the leading or trailing edge first, and you have to take off all that material. You don't have to do that if it's done on the same plane. Okay, it's like a parafocal eyepiece or something. It just goes right to register, and you go flat to flat. So they are good for that, okay? Business-wise, they're not attractive. You can only do that when you've got spare time, and for the last 3 years, we haven't, I can do them. It probably will if things remain stable. I'm not saying they have to slow to a dead stop, but they have to be stable. In other words, we do a little bit of work today. We said that we do a little bit of work today. We said that that I can manage. What I can't manage is you're 50 laps behind schedule and, people are waiting for them. That I'm done.
So are you and your crew going to get weekends off now?
Absolutely.
Good. That's important. You got to enjoy what you're doing. I had a question come across that I don't know what it means. It refers to water wings. Is that?
That was a lap, a dual bed lap from years ago that had a permanent pre-polish bed that had diamond and alumina in it, and it had a permanent polish band in the center. I'm not even sure what it was. It might have been Diamatrix. And you could do the pre-polishing without using anything, and then the polishing on the center. And some people liked them a lot. They were horrible to make. They used to wear out my diamond inserts.
And another question, I don't quite understand what you just asked about. Do you have a list? What was that of the dual band laps? So, if he's not going to make them, I don't know if we're going to have a list. What was the name of it? Was the last dual band lap? I had one and somebody snapped it right up. What was that dual band? The last one you made?
Oh, the Dia Z Plus.
Dia Z Plus, right.
Yeah, it was a Zinc Plus with a Diamatrix center, later made with the Diamax center. zinc flush pre-polish and then a polish on the center. Those aren't too bad to make. The cast ones are, the dominatrix was. That's a big, thick, heavy back casting made extra thick because of all the machining you have to do. And that had a diametric center. I had problems with some of the centers, bond failures, a couple of them coming out. At that point, I said, I can't afford to make these anyway right now. I mean, we're being screamed at by everybody.
I had a couple of people that were doing stone repairs, and they
Yeah.
really like those too.
Yeah, that becomes a money machine. That becomes a gold mine. Because you're doing everything, you're saving a lot of time. And usually on repairs, a pre-polish is enough. You don't generally have to, there's always that much damage where you have to go all the way back to cut.
Right.
But if you're touching up, dull facets, that a pre-polish is fine. So if you've got to do a bad lap, you have one lap on the machine, everything's done, you make money. That's cool. Yeah, we're going to have to do something about it, but let's see what the workload is like for the next month or so. If we have panic buying and another stampede and I have to shut the store down again, then,
So
go ahead.
Dennis Anderson has got some ideas that you could sell a whole lot of laps. I don't, Dennis, you didn't get the memo. He wants to sell less laps. He wants to take it easy. You have already, but a book to share.
No, actually, he's talking about the Dia-Z Plus, and I could start those again. Yeah.
Then we got
Yeah.
another recommendation. They want you to write a book.
I know, but when? What? Okay, here we go again. Okay, I'd love to write one, and maybe if text to speech gets better and goes fast enough, I can.
We'll get Prince Harry's ghostwriter to come hang out with you.
Oh, we know AI will do it. That's the latest fiction we have.
So I think we're running up real close on your haircut appointment. John has a haircut coming up.
I know, isn't that weird? I couldn't get one until after this is over now. It doesn't matter. To hell with it, I'll just let it go.
Well,
My dog license out.
Right. We really appreciate you taking some time to share some stories and tell us about your products and tell us that the online shop is now open again, but take it easy. You can limit, I know on my website, you can limit people to buying one of a product.
It gets to the point where
it's a pain.
Yeah, there's personality disturbances then,
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean,
So we just want to thank you for showing up, and I'll do another plug. Doug Augsburger is running the symposium for the United States Fasteners Guild in Franklin at the end of July. Please make your flight arrangements and hotel arrangements. There's a lot of everybody's coming through now saying thank you to you, John. I don't know if everybody can see all these messages.
Yeah, I can see them. It's great.
You see them?
Makes me very happy.
Yeah. Well, we love you, John. You are one of a kind, and your products are very much appreciated. I think as you know, you feel the love coming through the screen. So we really appreciate you taking some time to share your stories, and maybe we can do this again. For the symposium for the Guild at the end of July.
Oh, this is Franklin.
Yeah.
I actually made it there one year.
Well, maybe you can make it this year.
We'll see.
I just talked to Robert Rubin, the owner of Ultratech, and he's planning on being there this year. So we'd love to have some of you superstars there in person.
What if I could drive? What you talked about? I don't want to take a plane anymore. I'm bad at the airline industry.
Well, it's fun to drive. You could, smell the smells.
We used to take a camper down, down south all the time. Long time ago, though.
Yeah.
When we were young and immortal.
Yeah, I remember. So I think let's wrap it up. We really appreciate it, John. Another big thank you. And you see everybody, if you got thank yous, you better start typing, because we're gonna wrap this baby up.
That's great,
But-
people. No, you know, after COVID too, we treasure these social events.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this is, it was very enjoyable to me. And to see all these names, guys, some of you guys have been talking to for years.
yep. Yeah, and you know, it's a good opportunity, you know, for people to hear things from you, because they all, different people have different stones they're cutting, different laps they're using, and different things they're doing. But this has been a chat. This has been a lowbrow treatise on high polish from John Gearllose Rolfe of Gearllose Lapidary. We thank everyone for attending. We thank you, John, for agreeing to talk to us. And we appreciate that you're always commenting on Facebook and giving us great answers. So keep that up as well.
As long as Facebook does. Somebody said to me on these text out here, live forever. I think they used to do that for the Pharaoh, didn't they?
Right. Just get,
Yeah.
all you got to do is get bitten by a scarab.
Did you see there's a joke, it shows a headline, so it shows a headstone made out of granite. It says, I was hoping for a pyramid. Yeah, sure.
Well, thank you, John. Let's wrap this up. And thank you,
Okay.
everyone, for attending. And again, I admonish you, if you are not a member of the United States Fasteners Guild, get yourself to the Guild website and sign up. Well, somebody's just getting it. Somebody's just joining the meeting right now. Come on, people. Anyway, I've recorded this, and now I got to figure out how to get the recording onto the Guild's Facebook page or website or whatever. If you have advice for me, put it on my Fasteners Paradise Facebook page. I will. I appreciate any and all technological advice and help I can get. Again, this was a chat with John Gearllose Rolfe of Gearllose Lapidary on behalf of the United States Fasteners Guild. This is David Smith from Fasteners Paradise signing off because I'm hungry. I got to go eat.
Okay, guys.
Bye, John.
Yeah, have a great week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.